What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Blue Collar Progressive. I'm hanging out here, just got off of work, been listening to some podcasts, and what I'm going to do today is I'm going to do a quick little react video to a majority report segment that I was listening to at work. All right, so I'm going to set the stage here. So what happened was a caller called into the majority report asking about how they can persuade centrist Democrats in their area to vote for the progressive candidate. And this video is going to be all love, all right? All love. I love the majority report, but I think that their response fell severely short. And specifically Emma Vigeland, she ends up taking a lot of airtime, but at the same time doesn't really give herself enough space or time to come up with a thoughtful answer to the caller's question. And he asks a really pertinent question, which is how we plan to convince centrist Democrats to support either lefties or progressives. And I think that it's important that we have a good answer to this, especially going into the midterm elections and even with 2028 on the horizon, right? So let's take a look at the clip, and I'm gonna posit what I think is a better response to the caller's question. All right, let's check it out.
Calling from a 320 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Oh my gosh, praise the God Emperor. Just when I needed you guys, you answer.
Oh my goodness, I'm so glad to hear that you are so glad to be on the phone with us. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Oh, this is Bruce from Central Minnesota.
Bruce from Central Minnesota. What's on your mind?
Okay, I'm volunteering for Peggy Flanagan's campaign.
Nice.
She's the progressive non-APAC candidate in Minnesota going for Senate. I'm volunteering at a county convention this weekend, and I might be the only volunteer there, so I might need to give like a bit of a preamble of like why to support Peggy. And I'm super hard left. You guys rock. You can't see it, but I'm bowing down to the masters right now. So in my area, there's a lot of centrist Democrats. Mm-hmm. How do I speak to them? Because I can't go hard because they're probably going to be like, oh, this crazy socialist. Like, why would I listen to him?
Well,
and that
Minnesota.
could hurt Peggy's campaign.
Yeah, I mean,
Minnesota, you're fine.
just basically say like this. Peggy's gonna stand up for us in the way. You know, look at the situation we were just in with ICE in our streets. You can just use the lame line. We need fighters, not folders. I hate that that's the Democrats' line because they're trying to obscure the really important fight over things like corruption and wealth redistribution and Zionism when they make it about fighters versus folders. But if you're trying to sell progressive politics to people who are a little bit more skeptical, just talk about efficacy versus Trump.
Where in Minnesota are you?
He said Central.
So I'm St. Cloud.
Yeah, you're fine. You're St. Cloud's a college town.
I'm going. No, I'm going to Little Falls, though.
Okay.
And they're really small, like farming community. And when I was in my local meeting, I brought up, like, no, ICE needs to be abolished. Are you kidding me? Like, absolutely not. And the people in that meeting who were Democrats, because it was like my local, caucus, whatever, they were like, that's too harsh. We can't say things like that. That's too extremist. And I'm like, are you kidding me? No. But I feel like that might be what I'm dealing with.
I think the approach there is to say, look, we all think there should be an orderly process for things like this. There was one even prior to ICE. This ICE is you kind of have to sell it as like a boondoggle, which is what it is. So we've been spending so much on the border. In the 90s, it was we need to have speedboats chase around smugglers in the Gulf of Mexico. And then they just moved to crossing the Rio Grande. There's a ways around this. I think maybe just don't go in with the maximalist thing. But I don't think you need to. First of all, you'll be proven right over time. So, I wouldn't worry about, as long as you're in those rooms and talking to people like that, I think you're doing the right thing.
Okay. And one line I was thinking about using is, because like Angie Craig has done a lot of things that leave a bad taste in my mouth, but I don't want to be too negative. So I was thinking about saying, like, we can't try to go back to the way things were. We need to push forward and be progressive and build things that aren't going to be able to take advantage of. And that's what Peggy Flanagan wants to do.
Right.
So maybe language like that.
Maybe we need to make sure we fight hard to make sure that a guy like Trump can never get elected. And the best way to do that is to build with the same urgency that Trump has torn things down with. That's a line I would go with. Appreciate the call, though.
I can't tell you guys how thankful I am that you answered my call today. It was literally 2 days from now, so thank you so much.
Oh, of course. Have a good one, and great job.
Let us know how it goes.
Yeah, let us know how it goes.
Good luck.
All right, will do. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Okay, so I understand that there's an element of being on the spot here, but I thought that was a really weak answer from Emma Vigeland here. And I would just like to say as a quick piece of advice to the team, you guys have to try and stall for each other a little bit or something. Just so that each of you has a moment to gather your thoughts and actually provide a thoughtful response, because Emma, I love you, but this is not your best. She kind of just defaults to the most ordinary and, in my opinion, uninspiring slogans like, we need a fighter, not folder. Which she admits is weak as hell, but yet says it anyways. She also says something to talk about the efficacy over Trump. Like, they would be an effective candidate against him. But this is also a bad argument because Biden was an effective candidate against Donald Trump, and he left a lot to be desired. Okay, so she ends the call by saying something like, we need to never get a guy like Donald Trump elected again. Which is like, duh. She goes on to say, and that the best way to do that is to build as strong as he destroyed. Again, just these really, really weak lines. And if you think that these kind of cliches are going to do anything to take people over the aisle from liberal to lefty, I'm sorry, but they won't. This kind of rhetoric doesn't cut it. Honestly, it just misses the mark for one of the biggest progressive political channels on YouTube. Now, I'd be vulnerable to being called a hater if I didn't try to answer the caller's question myself. So that's what I'm going to try to do here is I'm going to give them a suggestion about how I would go about talking about progressivism or socialism with centrists. And I understand having to walk the line with the term socialism with these folks, all right? But this is what you have to try to get through to them. Right now, we are already a socialist nation in many ways. For example, right now, we're socializing war and death. Your tax dollars are going to the Middle East to kill kids right now, bub. We also socialize good things. We have extremely popular programs like Social Security that take care of our elderly. And another thing we socialize? Support for Israel. And through our support for Israel, we essentially pay for them and its citizens to have free health care. Did you know that? So we're paying for the health care of another nation while a percentage of Americans, like myself, can't afford insurance for themselves. How's that any better? But the thing is about this message is that it's super easy to tailor to each individual that you speak with. All you have to do is just ask them a little bit about themselves, maybe about what they like to do or something that they're really passionate about, right? Let's say you're talking to a 60-year-old liberal that loves bird watching / nature walks, nature of any kind, right? You can bring up existing socialized programs that they know and love specifically, like the National Park Services, to illustrate this point in a personal way that gets through to them where they're already at. So to tie it up really succinctly, you have to make them aware that the U.S. already has a massive amount of social programs funded by the collective taxpayer. The left flank is simply fighting for one more addition to this existing system, which is universal health care, which, if you ask me, is a pretty worthy cause considering all the other BS funded by our tax dollars these days. Anyways, I just wanted to chime in on the conversation a little bit. Hopefully this video ends up making it to the caller. That'd be really cool. But, if you're just watching this video and you also have family members that are kind of stuck in the middle, this might be a good way for them to warm them up to the idea of socialism. If you guys enjoyed the video, go ahead and like and subscribe, leave a comment, join the conversation yourselves, and I will look forward to seeing you guys at the next one. It's your boy BCP out.